Hi, I'm DK Will, and this is DK Will Talk About It. Gonna do a video as promised on my last video about the Iraqi dinar and Iraqi, the nation. And I'm gonna start out with more news and national type interest material. And then I'll do another one later on, either later today or tomorrow, and I'll lean more towards the guru, so-called intel rumor tell type of video. But first, let's get started and get this one done. And of course, we got to do that.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Alrighty, I hope the mic sounds right. We're going to start with some Friday news. I'm making this video. It's Saturday. It's the 16th of October where I'm at, and it's 12:30 Central Standard Time in the United States. We know that I did mention in the prior video about the elections and how this went a lot smoother, which is a good sign. Elections have been a minefield over there, and here the Iraqi government receives international recognition for the elections. And the spokesman for the Council of Ministers and Minister of Culture, Hassam Nassim, announced on Thursday that the Iraqi government has received international recognition for the public elections that took place last Sunday. Nazim said in a press conference attended by Mawazine News that the observations of some parties on the electoral process are legitimate, and there's a law regulating objections. And of course, I mentioned too about Nouri al-Maliki getting in there and trying to, kick up some dirt. I don't think he's going to be as successful as he was in the past. Article goes on, he added the government received praises for the integrity of the elections and international recognition for them. He continued, Iraqis are moving through the electoral process to a new stage of the country's democratic path, which is all good. Al-Kazimi had some points made, and I thought these are good points worth sharing. The more I look into this gentleman, the more I see a leader who actually cares about his country and his people, which is, a country is nothing but a bunch of people. So it ain't really about the country, it's about the people. But in any case, if you're going to lead people, you have to have a level of integrity and honor, and this man seems to have some. So let's see what he said. He says that there are no losers in the elections and issues a warning. He says Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazimi considered that there is no loser in the parliamentary elections, while warning against trying to deviate from the legal context by dealing with the results. Al-Kazimi said during today's session of the Council of Ministers, we have fulfilled our promise to hold the elections on time without recording any security and legal violations. This is the first time the elections have been held without imposing a curfew, without the Prime Minister participating in a candidate, in other words, having to intervene because of lack of ability to agree. We did not participate in the elections. Let's give it integrity, credibility, and confidence, and keep it away from any possible political pressure. Elections are the core and spirit of the democratic process, and the Iraqi people, through their interaction with the electoral wedding, prove that they are keen on their future and refuse to go back to the time of dictatorship and one opinion, and seek to build a bright future for future generations. That's kind of what life is about. Build a better world for yourself and future generations. And I did see somewhere, I'm not going to find it and prove it, but it's somewhere around 40% or so of the people actually voted. Democracy is a new concept to them when they had a dictatorial leadership before. But it's been going on now for decades. Many of their young population, which makes up nearly 50% of their population, all they've ever known is this war-torn country. And now they're seeing improvements, and it shows the spirit of the human animal, so to speak, that humanity seeks to return to a balance. And that seems like what the people are trying to do in Iraq. Okay, let me continue. We, as a people, political forces and government, must join hands and cooperate and translate the elections and their results in a practical way, away from promises and slogans, but rather by working hard to correct mistakes by learning from our experiences and planning for a future worthy of a people that has its mark in the history of humanity. Interesting. that I said that before reading that. We must adhere to our values and morals, and we must adhere to the logic of the state and its sovereignty, and cooperate in strengthening its presence, for there is no alternative to the logic of a sovereign state that secures the interests of its people. The confidence of the international community in various countries in Iraq was reinforced by the elections that were conducted with the highest levels of integrity and transparency, away from any government interference or pressure. I congratulate the winners and invite them to prepare to carry out their tasks with full energies, and for their work to be characterized by seriousness and good faith. And I also congratulate all participants in the electoral process. This man just has honor and dignity so far, what I've seen, at least his public presence. In these elections, there is no loser, and everyone is a winner, because the competition was in order to serve Iraq. We must reconcile with ourselves and with society and open a new page in our political and social life. I call on those who have an appeal to submit it and follow the approved legal context and frameworks, and we call on the Commission and the judiciary to achieve the rights of all on an equal basis. Yeah, al-Maliki even threatened civil peace, the same old crazy, nutsy, Iranian cabal influence type craziness that disrupts the peace of the people, where a few have too much influence over the many. Yes, every entity or personality has the right to submit appeals, and the Commission must follow up on the appeals with all seriousness, and we warn against any attempt to deviate from the legal context in dealing with the election results. We call on the winning blocs to work together and to cooperate in a high patriotic spirit to form the next government. We will continue until then with our tasks and provide services to our honorable people with full strength and energies. He says this train's going to keep going until y'all get it wrapped up. The upcoming challenges are many, on top of which is the economic challenge. We have started work and look forward to completing these efforts by the next government. And with cooperation, solidarity, and hard work, we can overcome all challenges. I don't know. I just like this guy. Of all the rulers I've seen, because you can talk about it, which many of them before him did it, or you can be about it, and he's both. He talks about it and he bees about it, and he gets things done, and that's why we can have a confidence on where we're heading. And here we saw an article where a U.S. official said those who wanted to boycott the U.S. lost the elections, and that article actually is here in their paper, in their language. This is a translated version, so this U.S. official's words were read by the Iraqi people. And Mawazine News, this is from the former U.S. ambassador to Baghdad, Douglas Silman, said on Friday that the political forces that bet on severing relations between the United States and Iraq lost in the recent parliamentary elections. Now, if you're new to this, Iran has been battling the United States with Iraq trying to be the battlefield now for years. The Iranian influence trying to overpower the U.S. influence. And that's been the ongoing topic. And so he's basically saying that the Iranian elements lost. I left that there just in case the YouTube algorithm creates a thumbnail for me to be able to use. Then I'll have something to choose from. Okay, and without beating it down to the ground, he says the relationship of the Iraq and America in the next stage depends on the orientations of the leader of the Sadrist movement, Muqtada al-Sadr, adding that al-Sadr and those allied with him should take into account the demands of the October demonstrators to give Iraq an independent voice. And Silman considered that the caretaker Prime Minister Mustafa Al-Kazimi maintained his relations with America and Iran, and his foreign policy was acceptable. He added the Iraqi elections took place without violence. The voters freely voted for the forces that want to focus on the Iraqi identity, adding that the elections produced new players, referring to the forces emanating from the popular protests. He continued the Al-Fatah coalition, that's an Iranian influence, which wanted to sever the relationship between American and the Iraqi armed forces, lost the elections, noting that there are no legal challenges facing the elections so far. He added that al-Fatah and the forces of the state want to reject the elections as a whole without real justifications, describing this situation as dangerous. And he goes on, I advise those negotiating with al-Sadr to make sure the government he will lead or control will deal with America. That is a veiled threat, but with some basis of encouragement. It's also evidence, if you take it at its face value, that the Iranian influence is in the governmental structure is not very much welcome anymore. The people are doing what I think, trying to find a balance. And so another thing I think of as importance is that there's a jump in oil prices. We know that Iraqi's economy depends on oil. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but we can see here Brent crude futures are at 84.28 a barrel. U.S. West Texas crude rose and it's at 81.61 a barrel. And then we have other prices going on, but basically we're in the $81 to $85 range per barrel. And why do I think that's relevant to share in this video? Because it was also released here that Iraq has promised a financial balance, and the Institute of International Finance expected that Iraq needs a price of $64 per barrel of oil during the next year to achieve financial balance. So I think I made a slight reference to this in my prior video, but that's a heck of a cushion when you're getting anywhere from 15 to 20 bucks extra per barrel of oil that you sell. And then it breaks down the balancing point for a bunch of different nations. For instance, for Iraq, it's $62 a barrel in 2022, down from $63 a barrel. In Qatar, they're only at $44 a barrel, and that's where they break even. You go to Bahrain, and Bahrain is at $76 a barrel in 2022. That's down from $82 in 2021. Saudi Arabia, the largest, will drop to $67 per barrel. Not even as good as Qatar, but still one of the better ones. And then the UAE, third largest, is right there in the same neighborhood as Iraq, roughly $64 a barrel. Kuwait, who's not an OPEC member, will be at $61 a barrel. And then we have Oman, which is the largest in the Middle East outside of OPEC, to $67 a barrel. So why is that important? That's important because it gives you an idea as a consumer, what they call us, of where oil's going to be next year. That's what they need to break even, so you can anticipate that the price of oil will be higher than that, barring any circumstances that led to oil going into negative before, which was just the death of the fiat dollar. And so here's some other good news I think worth sharing. This is tidbits from TNT, Saturday morning this morning. And Integrity revealed the amount of Iraqi funds recovered until the end of 2020. And there's some large monies in here recovered, folks. They said in a press statement the total amount received, as well as money sentenced to be recovered and seized, amounted to $1,417,900,842. And then we have a breakdown of 33.5 million euros. We have 2.3 plus million sterling. We have 951 billion in Iraqi dinars, 720,000 in Jordanian dinars, and 3,600 in Swiss francs. In addition to the seizure of 14 real estate properties and 5 stakes in various companies. So they're recovering what is theirs, and that's good. That's to help to strengthen them. And so also we're looking at the authorities recovery department recovered 17.7 million, and while it was able to seize in other countries an estimated 4.1 million. And so pointing out here that the department is seeking to recover a total of 2.2 billion. So Iraq is getting their money back. They're a sovereign nation. It's like you guys came in here and ran roughshod over our country and tried to steal our stuff, and now we want it back. Who can find any fault with that? I certainly can't. And then here we can see where when it comes to the elections, hey, it didn't translate it this time around. Oh well, it doesn't really need to be translated because it's in another place anyway. Sorry about that. Moving on. Let's see here. And this is where I want to end it. The Arab Monetary Fund holds a virtual workshop on Buna's interoperability initiatives and way forward. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but what I am going to say is Iraq is aware, countries all over the globe are aware, even the United States is aware that interoperability, cross-border payments, is the way things are going on payment networks. We are going to a digital economy, people. It says here, more than 200 senior officials will attend the workshop, representing central banks and a wide spectrum of regional and global financial institutions. And they are meeting here. Buna continues pushing the frontiers of cross-border payment and exploring creative models of payment systems interoperability. Our successful interoperability experiment with Target Instant Payment Settlement, that says Ripple all over it, in collaboration with the Bank of Italy, R3 Corridor, yes it is, was a proof of the possibility to execute cross-border and cross-currency, cross-system payment transactions in a matter of seconds, when appropriate technology and proper frameworks of collaboration are in place. And so I'm ending with this because we can see that Iraq is getting their stuff in order, and we can see where the financial landscape is going. I know in many of my videos I talk about pay attention to the landscape, and this is one of the areas where you might want to pay attention to the landscape. And like I mentioned before in the past videos, it's going that way. It's up to you if you have the intestinal fortitude to venture off into something new. But what I can say, and I believe this, that the new is coming. It's way further along than what many people are aware. And you got to get rid of the old to bring in the new. And so those of us who are in front of this and taking that calculated risks of investing in where money is going may find ourselves in some very enviable positions going forward. And so maybe down the road I will look at trying to do some videos, if I get any kind of feedback in that regard, on helping people get into and understand the cryptocurrency world, the digital currency world, the digital wallets, and they're making them very user-friendly. But the reason I'm showing this is because this is what it's all about, and I'll finish it with this. Buna is a cross-border payment system owned by the Arab Monetary Fund, aiming to enable financial institutions and central banks in the Arab region and beyond to send and receive payments in local currencies as well as key international currencies in a safe, cost-effective, risk-controlled, and transparent environment. Remember my video about the liquidity of XRP, that $27 trillion? Buna offers participants modern payment solutions that comply with international standards, principles, and compliance requirements. International standards, ISO 20022 principles, and compliance requirements, Basel 3, Basel 4. Things are happening, folks. Thanks to its cross-border payment system, Buna contributes to exploring and strengthening opportunities for economic and financial integration in the Arab region and supporting investment ties with the global trading partners. Buna welcomes the inclusion of all banks that meet the criteria and conditions for participation, primarily the standards and procedures of compliance aspects. And so, folks, that's where things are going. And it's it's time to catch up. I'm not going to cover this, but Vietnam talks about their digital transformation here. That's where it's going. And when you do this exchange that everyone's waiting for so much, it's probably going to be, you're going to be leaving your paper currency and going onto a digital ledger. I'm almost absolutely certain. I do believe that QFS system is as genuine as it comes. I can remember, I think, back in 2017 when the president at the time initiated the Quantum Initiative, and then all these satellites started getting put into space. I'm repeating myself from prior videos, but please, for my viewers, because I know I get by far the most response and views whenever I cover the Iraqi dinar. Take your binoculars off of just the Iraqi dinar. In a conference call, I preached this to the folks there and told them how everyone's sitting on their hands waiting for this to happen, and there's money to be made out there to increase the financial position of you and your family that has nothing to do with the Iraqi dinar. Well, all of it has something to do with each other. But that place is cryptocurrencies, and mark my words here today. Cryptocurrency markets are about to blow up. And some people are going to hear about it. Some people are going to be regretting that they didn't react because they had already heard about it. And some people will be talking about it. DK will talk about it. And some of those talkers will be about it. Folks, please change the paradigm. Let go of the old, the new is coming. Position yourself to benefit from it. I will do what I can to offer help and assistance because this is what I believe. I'm not a financial advisor or an attorney. But many of my associates have seen the value of what I'm saying now and have reaped far more back than what they put into the Iraqi dinar. So theoretically, even the money invested in Iraqi dinar is now recovered. So now it's just a free wait until this happens. If you want to be involved, I have playlists put together for the Iraqi dinar. I have playlists put together for AMP. I have playlists put together for finances. I have videos back there. Go check them out. I'm DK Will. This is DK Will Talk About It. I've talked about it. Have a wonderful day.